Do you like owning things? Do you enjoy having possessions? I mean, I do. I love capitalism. It's such a simple yet genius idea. You work to earn money, and then you use that money to buy things. And then you own those things and can do whatever you want with them. It's genius. Why didn't Karl Marx think of this? Now, it might be a bit confusing for some people. You know, quantum mechanics is also confusing, but it truly sounds like a great deal to me. Hold on, Actman, you say. I'm a senior executive at a multi-billion-dollar video game publishing company, and I don't have enough money. What do I do? Oh, well, in that case, you should just do what Ubisoft is doing and simply delete people's digital possessions that they paid for and just tell them to go fuck themselves. What's up, everybody? This is the Act Man here, and today let's talk about video game ownership and why this incredibly straightforward concept of paying for something and owning it is so complicated these days. Ubisoft doubles down. Buying digital games does not grant players any rights to, quote, unlimited access. Oh, man. You will own nothing and be happy. Just stop owning things. That's a concerning headline if I've ever read one. What the heck is this all about? Well, near the end of 2024, you may have heard about some niche racing game called The Crew, released back in 2014. And the reason this seemingly innocuous game was making headlines is because Ubisoft, the publisher, had decided to literally delete digital copies of the game from users' accounts. It's such a bizarre thing to do. It's more weird than Nintendo being like, hey, here's the Mario Superstars, but it's only available for a year to buy. Like, at least it's a limited time purchase, but like people paid for this game and now you're taking access away. Now, to be fair, The Crew was an online only game, and naturally these have a limited shelf life. Remember MAG? I do, barely. Regrettable as it is, I think most gamers understand that online services, especially for older games or older consoles, aren't going to be around forever. That's fair, but to go a step further and manually delete this game from people's accounts is wild. That's shady business. I don't know why you would do that, except to like prevent people from modding it or accessing the files or really playing it ever again. When the publisher decided to shut down the servers, the game became inaccessible to those who had purchased it in both physical and digital form. Although the community had made efforts to keep the game alive as much as possible, the big surprise came when Ubisoft deleted the digital copies. This led to a group of users filing a lawsuit in early November 2024. An actual lawsuit was filed for this. People got so pissed off. I know, I hadn't heard of The Crew prior to this either. But for some people, like, they have their favorite game and they don't want to change, and they'll put thousands of hours into it, no matter how old it is, no matter what new games come out. Some people just have their mind set, you know what I mean? And this is an example where, like, yeah, just make it playable for them in some way so you can avoid this whole fiasco. But no, you don't own this game. You bought it in 2014. Sorry, we're revoking your access. Ubisoft has been hit with a lawsuit accusing them of misleading users about the fact that they had a revocable license. That's the crux of the issue, right? The plaintiffs, who purchased the game themselves, claim that Ubisoft deceived players who thought they were buying a game when instead they were only getting a license to it, even when acquiring a physical copy. Additionally, they propose that Ubisoft falsely represented the idea that the software's files were in its physical discs. So this happened back in 2014, and that's where we come to today, where Ubisoft is doubling down on this idea that, oh, you purchased this thing over a decade ago? Sorry, we can just revoke your access. And that sets a shocking precedent for any Ubisoft title in the future, regardless of if it's online only or not. And here's where I stand, right? If you're Ubisoft and you got this small group of people that care this much about an old game, just let them fucking play it. Like, find a way. Why risk turning this into a massive PR scandal when you are Ubisoft and you already have enough of those going on right now? It comes at a really bad time because, I don't know about you, but it seems like big corporations in the world's global economy has been shifting towards this like subscription service Companies don't want you to own anything. They don't want you to own DVDs. They don't want you to own movies. They want you to rent everything. So you have temporary access and you become reliant on paying that monthly fee to have access to the things you want. But you know what? If buying isn't owning, then pirating isn't stealing. Now let me give you something to compare this with, right? So I'm about to say something good about EA. I know. Crazy times. See, back in 2002, there was this fucking amazing RTS FPS hybrid game that came out called Command & Conquer Renegade. It's a shooter unlike any game you have ever played, trust me. Totally unique, had a kick-ass multiplayer. The servers were live on GameSpy for quite a while, but as with all good things, it inevitably came to an end and the servers were shut down. But still, many hardcore fans remained because no other FPS game is quite like Command & Conquer Renegade. And this small group of fans took it upon themselves to create a sort of spiritual successor to Renegade called Renegade X. It is totally free, has been supported and updated for over a decade, and expands on the original vision far beyond what I think anybody expected. The developers behind Renegade X at Totem Arts make a total of $0 from this game. They have not only preserved the multiplayer of an old classic that would have died out and been totally forgotten, they've added a ton of content to it. And EA, despite being within their full legal rights to DMCA the fuck out of Renegade X, they instead have given Totem Arts their blessing to keep updating this game. Nobody's making money from it. It's just for the love of the game. This mod is EA approved. And you know, we've shit on EA a lot over the years, but gotta give credit where credit is due. That's really cool. Do you think Nintendo would do something like that? No, Nintendo doesn't even host fucking Smash Melee tournaments. They shut that shit down religiously. Examples like Renegade X should not be the exception to the rule. They should be the standard, right? If Ubisoft isn't gonna sell the crew, if they're not gonna support it, if they don't give a fuck about it, then give it to the fans. It's been over a decade. If there's people that still care about it, who gives a fuck? This doesn't seem like a copyright issue if you come to an agreement, right? Like if they don't enforce their copyright, they lose the copyright. But it doesn't seem like it's a copyright issue at all. It just seems like part of some new policy where Ubisoft wants to have the power to decide what games you own and what games you don't. Ubisoft reminds us of a sad reality about video games. Boy, you could say that again. They have responded to the lawsuit filed by California gamers who claim that the French company's actions, quote, violate the state's consumer protection laws. Now, I don't know how to begin unpacking video game law, let alone international video game law, but you go, King. However, Ubisoft failed to dismiss the case, with its lawyers arguing that there is no reason for gamers to believe that they had unfettered ownership rights in the game. They bought it. They bought it though. This isn't like World of Warcraft where even back in the day, everybody knew and understood, yeah, I'm paying for a subscription to the game. This just seems like Ubisoft making a mountain out of a molehill, and it sets a very strange and shocking precedent for the future, right? What, like, if they could just revoke your access at any time, like, why the fuck would you buy a game from them? Ubisoft continues to say, frustrated with Ubisoft's recent decision to retire the game following a notice period delineated on the product's packaging, plaintiffs apply a kitchen sink approach on behalf of a putative case of nationwide customers, alleging 8 cases of action including violations of California's false advertising law, unfair competition, and Consumer Legal Remedies Act, as well as common law fraud and breach of warranty claims. The case is still ongoing, however. In March, the plaintiffs added an addendum with new allegations against the company, stating that Ubisoft is violating rules regarding the sale of gift certificates, which they argue could be considered the crew's currency. Since gift cards cannot expire in California, the plaintiffs argue that when the crew closed, so did the in-game credit. Ubisoft now has until April 29th to respond. Now, at this point, you might be losing the argument if you're stooped down to, like, gift cards. This is just my impression of things, but it seems like the fans or the plaintiffs in this case just want to fucking play the game however they can. They're probably rightfully pissed off that the game has been torn away from them. And at the same time, it seems like Ubisoft is taking this hyper legal approach when going the route of EA and Renegade X would probably satisfy everyone just fine. I don't understand what's so hard about, like, I don't know, allowing these people to mod the game, make their own private servers. Fuck it, why not? The reason this is a story and not some random game just being shut down that nobody cares about is the implication, right? If they pull the plug on servers for old games like this, even for people who paid full price, it's like they just bought a license. They didn't buy the game, which is just renting with a couple extra steps. And if you put yourself in the business mindset, you would understand why, if you're Ubisoft, you would want to kind of crack down on video game ownership, right? Because buying a game, that's just one purchase. And then, well, if you give players complete access to mod it, then maybe they won't buy your next game. Yeah, talk to Valve about that one. Talk to Valve. They've dealt with that once or twice. Really, it just seems like this issue boils down to control. By controlling and selling licenses, they can revoke access anytime, prevent you from reselling the game, trading it in, doing whatever, prevent you from owning it, even if it's an always online game. Like, Microsoft may have shut down the OG Xbox Live servers and the 360 servers, but correct me if I'm wrong, you can still hook up your OG Xboxes with your boys and play Halo 2 on a LAN. You can do the same with 360 with Halo 3, to my knowledge. And even if you don't want to go through all those hoops, well, MCC is a pretty cheap alternative. So if you're not going to offer an alternative, then that is a problem. Then we get into pirating territory. I don't know, it might also be part of this trend of remakes, remasters, and re-releases where companies don't want to make new games. They just want to, resell you 10, 15, 20-year-old games again. There's a lot of weeds in this issue, but I hope I've carved a small path to lead you to the oasis. In conclusion, Ubisoft, come on, dog. Just let these people play the game, figure out some way, let them have mod access. Nobody gives a fuck about the crew except a small handful of people. Why are you litigating such a meaningless issue unless you want this to become a precedent? If you're just gonna delete the game forever, why not let somebody else do something with it? As long as they don't make money, it should be fine. And I've never said this before, but Ubisoft, you should do what EA is doing with Renegade X. But what do you think? Do you hate owning things? Are you going to purchase a game and then 10 years later realize you don't actually own it? If so, leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to Actman TV for more awesome content. Alright everyone, that's all I got for today. This is the Actman signing out. Peace!